There you go. All right, there we go. Hey guys, what is up? We are back for another live commentary. It's in this sort of informal series of full feature-length animated films. And before I get into that, I just really want to quickly say I don't usually talk about current events or what's in the news or things like that. And it dates the videos. But I'll just say I feel like I have to acknowledge the loss of artist Tim Sale, which really shocked me. He was 66 years old. I didn't know really about his health or anything. Just, Jim Lee had posted something just the other day that he was in the hospital and it was serious, and now he's gone. I don't even know what it was, but I just mean it makes me sad. And as far as like this year has just been devastating as far as losing giants in the comic industry. I mean, Sale maybe isn't a giant or a legend this way. The other two were we had also this year we had Neil Adams and George Perez dying, and they were both older than him, and maybe it's less of a shock. But anyway, I'm not trying to compare. But anyway, I just feel really bad. Tim Sale's great. He did for post if the name doesn't jump off the page. He did one of the most influential and popular Batman stories of all time, along with Jeff Loeb, writer who he partnered with a lot of stuff. The Long Halloween, and also its sequel, Dark Victory. And in between the Haunted Night story, so it's just one of the most definitive Batman stories out there. And in Marvel, he did those sort of color series with Hulk Gray, Captain America White, Daredevil Yellow, and Spider-Man Blue. I do own a few of those. I have some of the Spider-Man Blue issues, and they're great. I love his retro style, the way he draws, evoking sort of Ditko 60s Spider-Man and Gwen and all that stuff. And yeah, and I know he did other stuff too, but that's sort of his most famous thing. And I have some of his issues also of Legends of the Dark Knight Batman. But anyway, I just had no idea, like most people had, so I'm just sort of rocked that he's gone. It's a big loss. But as far as the other two go, I mean, they really are legends. Anyway, very sad, and I'll be processing that over the next while, maybe revisiting that. So rest in peace, Tim. You'll be missed. Okay, so getting back to this. So this is Robin Hood, as you can see. So it is we are doing a Disney movie. We never said we weren't going to do any Disney movies. So just and this has some relevance to what we're doing, because we started off, it was like centered on Don Bluth. Well, this was Don Bluth's first movie as an animator, so that's important. This was also the first movie in the it's not the first movie the post Walt Disney era. I mean, Walt Disney the man, he died in 1966, but it's the first movie since his death that he had like no involvement at all. Like the previous ones had at least something from him, however minimal. This is the first one.
He had pre-production planning on previous ones to this.
Although in checking this again, I see that like the idea for this movie goes all the way back to the very beginning, like right after they had done Snow White in the 30s. Walt had wanted, it wasn't Robin Hood, but he was thinking about doing what I already can't remember the name of the fox, but because it was actually supposed to be about this fox character from medieval times. He was sort of what's it called?
A knight? What?
I don't know. Anyway from like Reynard the Fox. That's what he's called. It's called Reynard the Fox. And there's a bunch of fables or whatever you want to say. Anyway, a bunch of medieval era stories about a fox, a mischievous fox character, and instead, I'm not sure why they didn't do it. Some people said, well, maybe he isn't like a good hero to emulate. I'm thinking like the average person doesn't know who he is, and you can change it however you want. But anyway, and in the end, they did wind up doing Robin Hood, but taking the fox idea and just saying, make Robin Hood the fox, which, okay, fair enough. And it was also part of an idea to return to sort of a classic type story after they'd done like their last film, which was the Aristocats, which was just sort of like an original story. And of course Disney sort of, that's their thing, right? They sort of bounce back and forth between original stories and then sort of stuff from like classic literature or classic I don't know, legends or myths or whatever you want to call it. So this is the Robin Hood story, of course, one of the most popular and enduring stories in ever, certainly in the English language, going back to medieval times. And there's been countless adaptations of it, many things, and countless movies. This is my favorite movie of Robin Hood. I like other Robin Hood movies. I actually like Prince of Thieves a lot, despite the fact that Kevin Costner is a terrible Robin Hood. I think he's just awful, but I still love the movie anyway. I think it's a great movie anyway. It's like everybody around him is good. He's not the only bad performance in there. I mean, you've got Christian Slater's quite bad too, but still, people like Alan Rickman totally make up for it. I really love that movie. That was a big part of my childhood. I liked that movie a lot. I watched it a ton. It's right over there. But anyway, this movie was also a big part of my childhood, having seen it on TV and stuff like. I guess again we've talked about the Family Channel, which was Canada's version of the Disney Channel. So yeah, saw it many times. It's just a fun movie that I love. And on paper, it doesn't really even sound like it's like it. It's just like, okay, we'll take the Robin Hood legend and make them all cute animals, and we'll give it like a weird sort of country kind of flavor with songs. On paper, I'd be like, what? That sounds terrible. It's weird too where that came from. I couldn't find anything that really explained it, except that they said like one of the main writers, Ken Anderson, he'd wanted to set it in the South because he wanted like the American South because he wanted some sort of similar vibe to the Song of the South movie, and a lot of people were, even in the 70s, people were like, oh, that's probably not a good idea. Yeah. And this seems like it was like a weird compromise. It's like, well, it'll be medieval England, but we'll make it kind of like the South in a way anyway, with and because of this is the other thing, well, this was like Don Bluth's first movie as an animator, period. This is also, I mean, I think it's a great movie, but this is also part of an era for Disney that kind of made Don Bluth become disillusioned, which we talked about before, because this movie, there were problems with the schedule and budget and stuff, so they were forced to recycle some animation, and some of the cast is recycled too. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but as we'll see going forward. So I think it's still a quality movie, but you can see how it is like it doesn't have the same sort of grandeur and scope that some of these Disney movies had beforehand, and they'd eventually get back to, and you can see why a movie like this and some of the other ones in the 70s that he worked on were not maybe to Don Bluth's liking, because he wanted something of sort of a higher quality, I guess. But anyway, he animated several key scenes in the movie, and I'll point them out as we go. But I guess we can get going in a moment here. Anyway, I'll just what is your experience with the movie?
Probably the first time, like you, was watching it in the 80s on the Disney Channel when it first, when it was a pay channel. And I'm fond of it. I remember it well. But again, it's kind of like one of those, I don't want to use the word Disney forgotten movies, not like the Black Cauldron.
Right.
But it definitely gets kind of pushed back a lot of times.
I mean, that whole era, basically the 70s right into the mid 80s, you could even say this is the beginning of their sort of dark period. If you want to say that starts a little earlier with maybe the Aristocats.
Yeah, I
which was
would,
1970.
but it's still good.
It's still good. It's still a lot of fun. Like I said, obviously it's a short movie and they have to cut things. So, people are usually used to me bitching about stuff getting cut out. For instance, like, I mean, there's different versions of the myth and all sorts of things, but like originally they were going to have like the whole band of merry men, and that actually got changed because they wanted to be more of a buddy picture. So they were like, no, they just make it like, just get rid of most of the merry men. Just keep like Little John. We'll have like a Robin Hood, Little John buddy picture, like the two guys, but we'll have Friar Tuck, but he won't really be as much of a part of it. That's the idea. So that's so who is this? So that's Phil Harris as Little John. So this is like his third Disney movie in a row. Kind of playing the same character every time.
Yeah, I was gonna say. It's
so
like
this is basically it. Just basically took the Baloo character, who's actually a bear, and just drop that exact character into this thing. And in between, he's like the cool cat in Aristocats, doing like sort of the same thing. Like, hey, hep cats, daddy-o, relax, baby. He's got that whole attitude. I like it though. It works. It's funny that it would work for 3 movies in a row, but it does. I have to say. It does. In a way, I almost feel like this movie, because of the way it lifts him from The Jungle Book and a few others, it almost feels like that whole idea that like Osamu Tezuka used to have in his mangas was the idea of like the star system, where he had characters, but then he would use them over and over again as if they were actors. And this kind of feels the same way. It's like, I feel like this is just Baloo in a movie about, it kind of feels like that. I don't know.
It does very much so. Same thing here.
That's fun. So going very quickly down the cast list here, Monica Evans has made Marion. She's still alive. Most of these people are not. And the legendary Peter Ustinov as Prince John, and just such a fun, cool performance. I really get a kick out of him. Out of him in that. Brian Bedford as Robin Hood, and we'll talk more about that once we get the movie going. And of course, again, I couldn't find enough about it, but like Roger Miller as Alan Adale, who's sort of the narrator, and he, writes and sings several songs in this. He's the guy that did King of the Road, which is a cool song, and I really dig his songs, even though they're not really my genre or the type of music I really like. And you would never think they would fit into something like this, but I actually really like the songs a lot, particularly the very sad song, Not in Nottingham. But anyway, that's enough preamble. We will jump in now. So hopefully, if anybody wanted to watch this, obviously it is on Disney Plus. But I guess there's probably other things. I thought I had the DVD of this, but apparently not, because I did some digging and I couldn't find it. But anyway, it's nice to have on here. So for me, the first thing that comes up right after the black screen is distributed by Buena Vista Distribution Co. So we're going to do a countdown and go from there, and we will jump in. So let me adjust my volume here so it doesn't blow people away. Hopefully that is low enough. And we'll do a 3, 2, 1, go. So 3, 2, 1, and we're pushing play. Let's go to that. I really dig this opening too. It's that sort of storybook type opening that they would sort of use in the also in the 70s with the Winnie the Pooh thing, because they're all like they're going to open the book and go into it, which is just like the same way they did with the Winnie the Pooh.
I think it goes back further than that, isn't like Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty? And
Sleeping Beauty does too. Sleeping Beauty definitely does. That one I do.
Snow White, I think, even does the very first.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Robin Hood is the people's only hope. You rob from rich to feed the poor. Right. So here's our narrator. So he is one of the merry men. Like I said, Alan Adale. He's one of the guys I mentioned. In that dreadful Robin Hood, almost at a prequel they did a few years ago where everybody was way too old. Where it was like Russell Crowe and stuff. Did you see that one?
Oh, I didn't see it, but I remember.
It sucks. It's a big. But anyway, Alan Adale is actually played by. It's funny because it's almost the same name. Canadian musician Alan Doyle, who is from I don't know if you'd know the band Great Big Sea, who would actually at some point become friends with Russell Crowe, and he's partially responsible for Russell Crowe's music career, which is kind of sad. I like this intro too. As I say, it's a little introduction of the characters. A bear, a vixen. Yep. Originally, Friar Tuck was a pig, but they said they were concerned that maybe that would upset the church, having like a man of the cloth as a pig. And of course, Andy Devine or however you say it, he's that twangy, raspy country voice that's in like 50 westerns and a bunch with like John Wayne. He's even in, I think, isn't he even in like Back to the Future Part 3? I think. I'm pretty sure he is. I think he's just one of the guys sitting at the bar talking.
Or is that Pat Buttram, who has a very similar voice?
Oh, does he? That? Okay. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Devine might have been dead by then.
He went that away.
Andy Devine. Yeah, he was long dead. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. It was Pat Buttram. Because Devine actually died only a few years after this movie, 77. But anyway, he was quite the... talk about typecasting. He was just too perfect not to put in a bunch of westerns. But this is a bit of trivia too, in that like if you ever ask people, I think it still holds up, because I'm trying to think if there's any movies since that changed it, because you could say like, in the Disney animated canon, there's only 2 movies that have casts that have no human characters whatsoever, and most people know one of them is Lion King. And a lot of people can't guess that this is the other one. A lot of people say Bambi. I'm like, well, the hunter's in Bambi. You might not see him, but he's there. So this is it. There's 2. Everybody gets Lion King, but they forget this is the other movie. No humans in this, because in this world they replace the humans. Yeah, fun opening. And the crocodile and the cape. I mean, that's like from Fantasia. Remember, there's a whole sequence of that has crocodiles and capes dancing with the hippos.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the unforgettable scenes of that movie.
I love everything about Fantasia. That's my favorite Disney movie, actually, of the animated canon. I mean, it's a little. Maybe you could say maybe it's a cop out because it's not like a feature length story, like most, but it is my favorite.
No, it's not a cop out.
Yeah.
Fantasia is a part of
Right.
this same line of movies to me.
Yeah. Just like in the 40s, they did the package movies, which I'm sure I've blabbed about. Like
Those are still part of it.
They count,
But what doesn't count to me in Disney counts is the CG movies that are not hand drawn.
No. Yeah, I do the hand drawn. That's Disney animated canon. The other stuff is a different one. It's a separate
thing. A different section of Disney, but yeah, they try to throw it in here now with these animated classics.
Well, supposedly this is another one, yet another one they're going to do a CG remake of that they're going to put on Disney Plus, supposedly. I haven't heard anything about its development, but it was announced in 2020 that they were going to do a release straight to Disney Plus remake of this with like CG characters.
Maybe they won't mess this up.
Yeah,
I don't know. Those have been hit or miss with me.
Yeah, same here. I really hated Lion King.
You did. See, that there were a few.
There were a few things. There were a few things in Lion King that were good. Probably the best thing were Timon and Pumbaa. Like they were excellent. I thought. Billy, whatever his name is, and Seth Rogen. I thought they had really great chemistry. But the movie, most of it just felt sort of flat and lifeless to me. It almost felt like.
Well, you definitely aren't going to top that. The original.
Yeah.
Is beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm not one of those people that I like the Lion King, but I don't love it the way a lot of people my age do. It still is really good, but
Lady and the Tramp, which I love the animated feature. The movie was awful.
I haven't seen the remake of Lady and the Tramp, and I haven't seen the remake, and I probably will never watch, of Dumbo, because I especially can't stand any remake done by Tim Burton.
That was another one that was very disappointing, and yeah, it's
the Aladdin one. I thought I would hate, and I didn't hate it.
Really, I disliked that. I couldn't finish it.
I definitely didn't like it, but and the other thing is too is I expected Will Smith to be the worst part of the movie, and for me he wasn't. For me, the worst part of the movie was the guy playing Jafar, because he was so boring, and he wasn't at all villainous or memorable or intimidating. He was really flat and bland, I thought. All right.
To me, all of it, the script, everything was just.
I mean, I definitely didn't like it, but I was expecting to despise it. Yeah, it wasn't that bad, I guess. All right, so they're gonna
back to Robin Hood.
They're gonna aim high. Might as well rob from Prince John himself. This is pretty amusing, though. They do this whole bit. Oh yeah, I forgot his little yes man here. Peter Ustinov was awesome in this. I love taxes.
It also reminds me of the King in Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
That was one of the first things I watched when I got Disney Plus, because I was like, "Oh shit, that's on here!" Because I hadn't seen it in so many years. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid back in those Family Channel days. So that was one of the first things I watched on Disney Plus. I was so excited to have. Yeah, that's such a great animated sequence, like the soccer game and everything.
Yeah, I love it.
That's an awesome movie. It's another one of those that I watched The Parent Trap.
Classic. I like The Parent Trap.
Yeah. I can't remember, was it you or somebody else I was rambling on and wondering how much I adored Haley Mills back in the day?
We might have.
Yeah. I was
I did too. I mean, I even like the 1980s comeback of hers, did the Parent Trap sequel. She was on the original Saved by the Bell when it was called something else.
Good Morning, Miss Bliss.
That's it.
Yeah. She was in her 40s then, but hot.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I again, on Family Channel, I'd seen The Parent Trap and Pollyanna, and I loved her then too. I love that sequence of The Parent Trap when she and, of course, it's her, and they double them up and they do their little pop song. It's very cute, and that became that topped the charts in that year too. That was a big hit. That little song. Let's get together, yeah.
And the split screen of them, or it's her.
Pretty good for that era,
Oh, really? Yeah. Really good. It's believable, for sure.
There he is sucking his thumb. Oh, I forgot about the hypnosis bit.
Oh, just like
that every once in a while Hiss can like sort of put him under. Silly serpent. Yeah, so the bit once Robin gets here and it starts like taking stuff off the crown and stuff, that's Don Bluth. I think that's the first bit he did. He did 3 main sequences in this, and first bit is that. Yeah, this is quite the grift they get going. It's interesting too because it's a different sort of Robin Hood right off. Because we're used to Robin Hood just sort of like using guerrilla tactics, blitzing people with his merry men, jumping out of the trees. But in this, it's like there are a couple of grifters.
Yeah,
they're here to scam him. It's interesting because I've never really seen or heard another version of Robin Hood or Robin Good. They do have, part of him is the disguise, but that's always for the archery tournament. I think that's another thing I said, while this is, of course, a short, simplified version, and there's all sorts of different versions because there's no one definitive story of Robin Hood. One thing that disappoints me about a lot of modern versions is they don't include the archery contest, but this does. There's a lot of the ones I can think of, including, I'm pretty sure, they don't do the archery contest in Prince of Thieves, do they? I don't think they do. They're pretending to be a couple of traveling gypsies here. Female bandits.
It's been about. I watched this at least once in the last, I want to say, 6 or 7 years, because I did it with a friend. We were watching all the obscure Disney movies.
Yeah. I guess it might have been. It's probably only barely been about 2 years for me.
I was just going to ask you that if you watched it more recent.
Not super recently, but yeah, recently enough.
Yeah.
Within.
But before
2 years,
that, it might have been.
Like if it was pre-pandemic, it was like right before.
Okay.
Yeah. On how
For me, it'd probably been 20 years before the last time I'd watched it. This past.
Like I feel like I did watch it in the 2000s, and that's why I thought like for sure I must own the DVD, but I couldn't find it. It wouldn't be the first time I misplaced something, so who knows? I lost stuff. Lost some really important stuff between moves, including some video games that I can't believe I lost because I'm usually so careful about that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Actually, it's funny. This is unrelated, but like last week, I had to buy a pair of running shorts because I guess in the last couple of months I've been trying to organize. I've been throwing stuff out and getting rid of stuff, including clothes. I must have somehow gotten rid of my running shorts, like mixed in with like clothes I was getting rid of, which doesn't sound like me because I'm really careful, but I can't find any other explanation. So anyway, now I've got new running shorts. I love how they do the oodle lolly. That's like a catchphrase that they do. It in no way fits with medieval England, and yet it still fits this movie. It's kind of funny that like another version that came out around the same time, I'm sure you've seen Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh yeah, of course.
And of course that had Carrie Elways. I always thought like if they did do a remake, Carrie Elways is obviously the one to be the voice for this Robin Hood. Like that's what Brian Bedford sounds like to me. He and Carrie Elways sound very similar.
I could definitely see that.
So Elways is older now, but if he's just voicing, he could do it.
He could do it.
So I feel like that's who if they're going to do this silly CG remake, that's who they should cast for sure. It's Carrie Elways. I get a kick out of most of Men in Tights. Some of it is really stupid, but there's still things in it I like. For sure. That has like a young Dave Chappelle before I had any idea who the hell he was.
That's right.
Yeah, I think this bit. I think we're up to stuff that was done by Don Bluth because it involved the gold.
And even as troubled and hurried and reusing, drawing over Jungle Book animation for
Yeah,
dance sequences.
yeah.
This is still a really well made, beautiful piece of art.
I think so. It has just such a distinctive feel to it.
Yeah.
It's just such, like I said, on paper, it doesn't sound like it should work to me, and yet it's such a cool world. I enjoy like this animal version of medieval England with like its weird sort of American country twist. You're like, how's
Yeah.
this gonna work? But it does.
It does.
I also like sort of this pantheon of the animals. He's got, obviously they had to make the king because he's Richard the Lionheart is going to be a king. So, but since Prince John is his cousin or whatever, he has to be a lion too. But they'll make him sort of like a more scraggly lion, not regal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you see he's for his guards and footmen. He's got the rhinoceroses and the elephants. Mummy.
Yes.
This probably is the first thing I watched in my life that made me like think about taxes. Like I
That's
can't think of
interesting.
anything I saw when I was younger where I like acknowledged where where taxes was part of the plot.
Popeye the movie for me, maybe.
You know, you know what Popeye is for me, right?
What it was.
It's the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're allowed to
I
bring it
love
up.
it.
I was just saying I can't remember if you knew that was my stance.
I did not.
Oh, okay. So in this world of hyperbole, and as somebody that's seen a lot of movies, so some people just it's a terrible, it's the worst movie I've seen in my life. I've seen over 3,000 movies. I've seen all
Wow.
sorts of bizarre things that most people don't even know exist. But I just hate Popeye, and it's not just because of that movie. It's because I hate Popeye the character. If I had a time machine, I
Okay.
would go back in time and make sure that he didn't happen. I would remove him from history if I could. I hate Popeye. So that's
Okay.
nothing against Robin Williams or whoever else. For all I know, it's a really good thing. But
Definitely forgive that for not liking the character if you don't like the character.
yeah,
The movie's definitely not going to be your thing.
So I mean, trying to think of other like.
That's where. Oh, I did want to bring up. I don't
Hmm.
know if you mentioned yet that this was the first Robin Hood was the first VHS released by Disney as far as their animated classics.
Yes, that's right. It broke some records or something, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or at least like set some sales records at the time or something.
Well, because Disney was nervous to release their films on video.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird when you think about it. And now,
well,
it's like that went out the window because they're like, now let's make straight to video garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if they were worried about the quality of their brand, here's the sheriff, of course. Who's not so much a sheriff as just a glorified tax collector. I like these houses and stuff too. It's like part Wind in the Willows, part medieval. Yes, this big rabbit family. It's realistic. Really gives you a good insight into his character here. That he's completely he crashes some poor kid's birthday party, and he still decides to take his birthday present away from him. A whole farthing. Yeah, you can see where some of the reused animation is because whenever it happens, like the black lines get really heavy and Oh yeah, so yeah, because it is a big deal. Yeah, that even more so than in other versions. That Robin's always wearing cool disguises. Now he's the blind guy. Ooh, that's a good trick.
Mhm.
Or Robin will fix your birthday. The word like ditty seems so out of place in Robin Hood, but not in this interesting world they've created. Like we're all English, but we're country English. So this brings us to another point. Here she is talking about how handsome he is, and something I wasn't really aware of until I was an adult and Twitter and things like that. Like, apparently, like this Robin Hood character was sort of somewhat of a sexual awakening for a lot of girls. Like, this is like one of the first their first memories of like being attracted to like a character. It's pretty cool.
Huh. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. And I mean, people make the joke, oh, people that grew up to be furries, but no, like just people, no, in general, I could see it. I mean, it's not like I wasn't attracted to animal characters. I was. Who's the one?
So you did find Bugs Bunny attractive when he put on a dress and played a girl bunny?
No, to me it was I can't remember her name now. It was like Rose or something. She was a female character in Sonic the Hedgehog. She was like this pink hedgehog thing. I was kind of into her back in the day.
That's not Amy. It's Rose.
I think maybe it is Amy.
I only know that because my son's into Sonic and he talks about it. Amy. So
maybe it is Amy. That
sounds.
Now that you say it, that
sure.
sounds right. But I can remember.
I mean, I know Sonic and Tails and Dr. Robotnik and Knuckles,
but yeah, I remember being into her. And she's not remotely human, so
No.
But yeah, I've seen a few different threads and stuff about various women talking about how this Robin was like their first real crush. I could see it, like they're saying. He's like, oh, that voice. Very nice voice. I'm not either. Archery.
That's kind of funny. That section actually looks the most like a Disney castle than any of the other castles that they're named after.
Yeah. In retrospect, it's kind of weird that Disney didn't do more sort of like high fantasy type stuff. I guess it's because like their one shot at it was like their biggest debacle of all time in Black Cauldron. But you think in the years since they try something like that, and again, I know they've done it in various ways. Like I've been putting off forever. Speaking of like the Disney Animation Studio movies, like I want to see Raya and the Last Dragon. I just keep putting it off. So I mean, that's a sort of kind of high fantasy. I mean, obviously with an Asian bent rather than the European.
Yes, I haven't seen it either.
I want to, and I just keep putting it off. I think I would like it. I haven't seen anything like that in theaters in forever, but I think I'll probably go see Lightyear. Lightyear looks so good.
Yeah, I'm one of those that's like, just it's not going to be Buzz Lightyear to me. I get the idea, the premise, but
yeah, I don't know. It works for me, and I mean, I don't have anything against Tim Allen. I mean, he is kind of a jerk, but I just mean I can separate that, right? Like, okay, Tim Allen's a bit of a jerk, but I love his Buzz, so
he's Buzz, yeah.
But
it's hard for me to separate that.
Yeah, I guess so. No, I guess I bought the concept as soon as they said it. That it was just like, that's the toy, and this is the guy. For me, that's fine, but
Which I get.
I like Toy Story 4, but I don't know. I felt like Toy Story 3 was just such a perfect ending.
Yes, I agree. I was disappointed Toy Story 4.
It was okay and it had its moments, but I just thought that 3 was just such a perfect way to end things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this point, they might as well make a 5 because I don't feel like 4 is that great of an ending. So maybe they should try it again, make a 5.
Do something a little more justice again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Maid Marian.
Who's the voice of Maid Marian again?
Oh, I had it. Her name is Monica Evans. She died in. No, she didn't. No, she didn't die. Yeah, like I said, she's one of the only ones still alive. She's 82. She's still alive. So most of the main cast is dead. She hasn't done that much, really.
What were some of the other things she did? Did she work with Disney on something else?
She was also one of the people that carried over from the cast of the Aristocats. She'd done a couple different voices in the Aristocats. Besides that, she just did some TV stuff. Like she was in a few episodes of The Odd Couple and a few other things I've never heard of in the 60s. Like not much at all. I think she was mostly like an English actress. Like, she did plays and stuff. So I think most of her acting stuff was actually on the stage. But anyway, she's I think the only member of the main cast that's like still alive. Oh, let's see here. Oh, you mentioned Pat Buttram, right?
Yeah.
He is also in this. He is the sheriff.
Okay.
So this movie has both Andy Devine and Pat Buttram.
I thought both of those voices.
Yeah, they got that twang, sort of raspy twang, yeah. And he... Yeah, and that is him in Back to the Future Part 3. So I was mixing, you're right, I was mixing him up with Andy Devine, who had been long dead by the time Back to the Future Part 3 came out.
But they do both have that very similar twang.
Yeah. And he would return for The Fox and the Hound, which is, if you want to talk about a movie I haven't seen since I was a kid, that's one, because I just remember how sad it is.
Yeah.
I just don't think I can do it. So I literally haven't seen that since I was at least like 12. And I keep saying, it won't be that bad. Watch it. I keep coming up with excuses not to watch it. I'm like, it's too sad. I don't think I can do it.
I always think I haven't watched that one enough, and that's probably why, because I know it's a good film.
It is a good film. It's another, again, part of like that sort of overlooked era. Came out in 81 and was the beginning of like one of their biggest gaps.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have another movie until Black Cauldron in 85. So like 4 full years of developmental hell and problems. They kept pushing back Black Cauldron. Originally, it was going to have a Christmas '84 release, and then they had to change that after some stuff. Yeah, some very nice art there on the castle and the ivy. And again, it's not. I mean, I say that about high fantasy, but of course, what I'm forgetting, the one where it started was The Sword and the Stone in '63.
Yes.
That is our friend Jay. He says that's his favorite of the animated Disney movies. That's a little different one. It's nice though. It's a nice telling part of T.H. White's The Once and Future King. Just the first part, which is probably the best part, where Arthur's the boy. Once and Future King is so weird in the way it changes tone, because it starts off so lighthearted and fun, and by the end it's so depressing and serious and full of like death and betrayal. It's like, wow. Yes.
Did you just say Jay's is Sword in the Stone, his favorite?
Yeah, that's what he told me.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. But yeah, even by the 60s they started doing that, because there's this whole part in like with Sword in the Stone where like when he's whatever the hell he is, he's like a stable boy or whatever, right? There's a part where like one of the castle dogs is happy to see him and jumps all over him, and sort of like tries to like knocks him down and like jumps on and licks his face and stuff like that. And then they use like the exact animation for like one of the wolves doing that to Mowgli in the Jungle Book. I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
One and done. Speaking of the Jungle Book, there's Little John, who's just basically Baloo in medieval cosplay. Yeah, it's too bad we don't have the other merry men here, but I guess to keep things simple, I don't mind. I like the dynamic of these two.
It is good.
How can I marry her? That's a good point, Robin. He doesn't even point out the outlaw thing. He's just saying we don't know each other. Oh, here comes Friar Tuck. We've already seen him, I know, but I wasn't really paying attention. I mean, yeah, Robin Hood is an outlaw, but for the good reasons. It just seems funny to me that like whoever at Disney at the time was concerned that Fox character might not be like appropriate. Thinking, how bad could he be? Reynard the Fox.
Yeah.
It seems odd to me. Maybe I find the thing. I see swell possibilities in Reynard, but is it smart to make it? We have such a terrific kid audience, parents and kids together. That's the trouble, too sophisticated. Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what they meant. Maybe they meant it was unsuitable because it was more complex, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because they're just stories about a fox. You know, it's not something I know that well. I remember reading a few of them years ago. There was a time in my life where I was really interested in sort of that period of history and literature, reading stuff like the Song of Roland and Morte d'Arthur and stuff like that. But that was a long time ago. The Song of Roland is actually quite hilarious in many ways. I love its descriptions of like death and killing. You have heroes that are like killing like 1,000 men, single-handed. Oh, we're at the tournament, right? Yep, this is the tournament. Nice. But yeah, this is always one of my favorite parts of any version of Robin Hood is the archery tournament. And there's quite a few movies and things that don't do it at all, which I think is a mistake. The other kind of weird thing about Prince of Thieves, I mean, John himself is not really, he's barely in it. They really put the focus on the sheriff, which is not bad when you got Alan Rickman as the sheriff, but I like in this that like both are prominent. Scurrilous, that's a good word. It's kind of weird that like they make it Sir Hist look almost like he has fur in certain angles.
I saw that on the throat. Yeah. Well,
sometimes when he bends,
where the snake.
Yeah, when he bends, they almost make it look like he has fur. This is his best costume, the Stork Archer.
Yeah.
Show britches. I forgot about that. Now he gets going with the Cockney accent. Or does this predate Cockney? I don't really know. Not too up on
no.
On my old English dialects.
Or I guess, do you mean the time period?
Yeah. I mean, Cockney, I know it's an area, but I just mean, does it work? Does it go back this far? Because this is supposedly like the 12th century. I mean, language change. It's silly to mention in a movie like this. I just mean, dialects and language and things change so much.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't even too long before this where, like, there were several English kings that, didn't even speak English. They spoke French. Like Edward II, he's one. But there's a few. It took for a while for England to become the England that we think of. The Saxons and the Britons. The Normans, the Norman Conquest, 1066. But I mean, that's what Normans were. Like, that's what Old French was, Norman French. So that's what quite a few of some of those English monarchs actually spoke Norman French, not English. And the first Prince of Wales, what's the story? It was like the people of Wales said they wouldn't accept a prince who spoke English. So the king named some little kid. He said, "He's your prince," because he doesn't speak at all yet, because he was like a baby. That was his loophole there. He didn't speak English. He didn't speak Welsh either, but he didn't speak English because he was a baby. Oh, a warthog.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I remember the Shaggy Dog. I like how he shoots. He goes to fluff his bangs out of his face. I don't know if bangs is the proper term, but we're gonna go with it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right. Sir Hiss is gonna do some spying of his own. I mean, as much of an annoying sycophant as he is, he's smarter than John. Like, when they were getting robbed before, he said, "There's something up with these women." And John's like, "Oh no, no problem." Right away, he thinks there's something odd about the stork. There we go. Most of them aren't very good.
No.
Archery's become pretty popular over the last few years. One was because of the Hunger Games movie, because the green girl in that uses a bow. And then there was the Avengers movie with Hawkeye. I think both sort of spurred a renewed interest in archery from young people. It's pretty cool, I guess.
It is.
My favorite archer character. I'm not sure. Maybe Legolas from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
He's a great archer.
It's never really gone away though, which is cool as well. Archery.
Yeah, that's true.
Bows and arrows.
Still like an Olympic event. You got Green Arrow in DC.
Green Arrow.
My favorite DC archer is probably Shadow. A Green Arrow, sometimes adversary, sometimes ally. She practices that Japanese style of archery. Something I need to look that up. Can't remember what it's called. It's pretty cool though. Oh.
Did you watch the Arrow show?
A little bit of it. It starts off pretty good. Oh, Kyoto.
I think we watched the first couple seasons.
Yeah, I got maybe into the third season. I liked a lot of things about it. Because I always liked that when they did that more in the comic. I like Green Arrow more as like an urban sort of vigilante, which is like what he was in the 80s when Mike Grell did the series. Mike Grell's also the one who introduced Shadow. Yeah, I like that better. So I also really liked. It's funny because for a long time he was written out of continuity when they did the New 52. But I liked Connor Hawke, who was his son that he didn't know he had. But what I liked about Connor was while he was good, he was of course a good archer. He was actually one of the best martial artists in the DCU, and I liked him a lot for that. But for a while, when they were trying to de-age a lot of the characters, they got rid of him because that was one of the other things that happened. Like in the 80s, when Grell started the series, he decided to it's a floating timeline, obviously, and for all these characters, they don't really age. But he decided to let Green Arrow age a bit. He was like, the idea of the series was like he was about 40 now, and he was still good, but he was acknowledging he was a little bit past his prime. And so when you get into the 90s and Connor's introduced, it doesn't seem like too weird that he has like a son who's like maybe like 21 or 22 or something. But then when they did the New 52 reboot, they scaled back the ages of a lot of characters, including him. So they got rid of Connor. So that was too bad. I love that shot. Because I think that should be an important part of any Robin Hood storytelling too. Is there should always be a bit where he makes an incredible shot. And this is just in the competition, but I remember he does some cool shooting in Prince of Thieves. Because another thing about the Mike Grell one was like when he first encounters Shadow, she makes an incredible shot that like he acknowledges to himself that he doesn't think he could actually make. So it shows like he does have some limitations. But yeah, that kind of archery that Shadow does is called Kudo, which goes back to like samurai. And it's a really interesting looking bow because it's a really tall bow. And part of it is from shooting from horseback. Seems really cool. I'd like to learn that kind of archery. Actually, whenever people think about samurai, they associate them with swords, which is right, but that's not how they started. That was the original weapon of samurai before swords became a big deal. They were archers first. It wasn't until a few generations passed and the katana was sort of perfected that they became more associated with that. But the earliest samurai, their main weapon was the bow. And even even later generation ones that were swordsmen, a lot of them still kept up, when they trained with the bow. Kudo. But it's a super tall bow. Like, it's like taller than a person. I mean, it's still practice. There's a an international Kyoto Federation with like members, and they do competitions and things like that. But they're really, really tall bow. And it was that comic that introduced me to that, which is pretty cool. Off with his head. There's
I know,
a classic reference.
Get so into this.
You know, I love Alice in Wonderland too. That might be top 5.
It is a good one.
You know, I think it's like, I won't do the order right now, but like if I'm doing a top 5, like this one, Fantasia is at the top. God, so forgetting then maybe Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, and that what I just said. Alice in Wonderland. Those might be the top 5. It might be Alice in Wonderland, Robin Hood, Fantasia, Beauty and the Beast, and whatever the hell else I said.
Every one of those is fantastic.
Alice in Wonderland, yeah. And they must be, because those are some of the ones I actually own. Like, I don't own most of these movies, but I own Alice in Wonderland on Blu-ray. I own Sleeping Beauty on Blu-ray. Do I own Beauty? Yes, I own Beauty and the Beast on Blu-ray too. So yeah. So now for some mayhem. Robin's pretty good with a sword too. Oh yeah, isn't Hiss in the barrel getting drunk? I think I missed it, but I think Friar Tuck threw him in the barrel. He's getting drunk. Nice judo throw there.
It was.
Nice proposal. Nice chaos here.
Yes. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, she wants to get. Oh, there's Trigger. I forgot about Trigger. Rusty, Nutsy, and Trigger. They don't have a lot of screen time, but I like them.
The Vultures?
They're the Vultures, yeah.
Yeah.
Nutsy and Trigger. They get a bit when they're in the sad part of the movie where everybody's captured. They're like the guards. And they have some bits with the sheriff there. Some locomotive sound effects, very nice. Oh, that's treason. That's punishable by death. He's the fat one. Oh, I like the football charger. And this is just like when the Goofy sports, when Goofy does football. Same kind of moves. With football fanfare music. Suck it. Yeah. So you had another Disney character drunk. First Dumbo, who was underage. Now this guy, hammered. Of course, it wasn't his fault. He got stuffed into a barrel full of ale.
Can't help that. So it's more like a hairy chest on the snake. I mean, that can't be.
I guess that's what they're trying to articulate. It's weird.
I don't know.
Now, Maid Marian and some of the other people are outlaws too. So this song, Love, this is actually, I guess, for the crossover appeal of animated foxes. This Wes Anderson uses this in the film Fantastic Mr. Fox, where George Clooney is the cool fox. This by, like most of the songs, are of course by. The song was by George Bruns, whoever that is. Lyrics Floyd Huddleston. Yeah, because Roger Miller did most of the songs and performed most of the songs, but this one's different. And this is somebody named Nancy Adams is singing. It was nominated for Best Song at the Academy Awards. Win. I wonder what won Best Song in '73, the Academy Awards. I think what else was '73? I don't know. Can't think of anything with songs. '73. That's like Silent Running '73. I'm drawing a blank on movies from '73. I think Silent Running was '72. Oh, right, the church mice. Or whatever you want to call them. I call them church mice because he's like the priest or the minister or whatever you want to. Oh, here we go, the Phony Prince song. Yeah, I guess some of these dance moves, like you said, are from other movies like Jungle Book.
Was it this one who also traced over Snow White dancing number 2?
Yeah, there's some part like a group shot of them, I guess. We'll see. Maybe it'll spark my memory. Known as John the Worst. I mean, it can't be this. It's too different.
There is a little there with blue.
Right. Well, yeah, blue, yeah.
This is.
Oh, that hands clapping.
Yep.
That's it.
And Maid Marian doing the dance with is Snow White doing the dance with the dwarf.
Yeah. I changed it up a little. You're right, because she's a fox, but as you can see, not too much different. Yeah, that twirling in the dress, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. What are you doing in the bushes there, John? That's suspicious. Oh, we're coming up to the depressing part, though. Everything seems happy, but you're all going to get arrested. I like how the song has become so popular. The sheriff's singing it here. It's made its way from the forest into the town.
I love his voice.
PJ.
I'm still here.
Uh-oh. Yep. Yeah, whole village is singing it. Musical peasants. Oh, here we go. For closure by order of the crown. Pretty heavy for a kids movie. There we go. I mean, this is sad, but I really like this sequence, even though it's super depressing. Well, at least they didn't take your loot away. Oh, they even got the ball and chains on them. Even the little mice have them. Yeah, I like this song a lot. Not Nottingham. Outnumber the nouns?
This is a good one.
I mean, the only thing that gets me through this is knowing that, like, they all get out. Because it's like, Jesus Christ. They're all starving to death. Like, look at those mice. Not Nottingham. Oh, the raccoons. Yeah, there's this whole bit with Nutsy and Trigger where I think it's Robin. Like, one of them starts imitating the other guy's voice to trick him. It's pretty good. It's coming up. Speaking of voices here, I'm pretty sure the voice of the mouse pastor or whatever his name is the same voice as Piglet in Winnie the Pooh.
I was thinking that earlier. I think you're right.
Yeah, him. I don't think they had organs like that back then, but I'll let it slide, considering what the movie is. But there was definitely no organ like that back then. A couple 100 years too early.
Yes.
And that voice too sits in a lot of stuff. The female voice there, although I
yeah, she was. It took me a second. Definitely one of the fairies in Sleeping Beauty.
Was she also Kanga? Speaking of Winnie the Pooh, is that
I
Kanga's voice?
think you
Kanga
might
didn't
be
talk
right.
much, so I can't remember. I mean, I know Piglet for sure, but
It's one of the fairies in Sleeping Beauty, wasn't it?
yeah, Merryweather
Okay.
or whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you might be right on Kanga as well.
It's hard because Kanga didn't get a lot of
No.
dialogue that I can find out. Cast here. Flora, Fauna, and Mary. Is that Barbara Jo Allen? No, I don't think it's Barbara Jo Allen. Because she was already gone. Let's try again. Was it Verna Felton? No, she's already gone too. So that leaves Barbara Luddy. Must be Barbara Luddy. Yeah, it's Barbara Luddy. And I was right, she was Merryweather. That was just a guess. And she was Kanga, yep. We're good on voices. See, I'm not good at recognizing actors by looking at them. I'm pretty good at listening to them. And that's why I can name so many voice actors and stuff more so than actors. Out of the church, asshole. Now you're gonna get arrested, Briar.
Were they both in Blazing Saddles as well together? Or was it just one of them?
Which ones?
Yeah.
Oh,
Pat Buttram
yeah,
and
at least one of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's check. Divine's in 100,000 movies.
Yeah. I think it might have been Divine.
More so many movies. Oh, and of course, yeah, that's another thing. Speaking of voices, Divine is also in the comedy It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. You've seen that?
Good one. Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, if you want to pick a cast that has memorable voices, it's that one. Even friggin' Peter Falk's in there. Anybody that has a memorable voice of that era is in that movie.
And Jimmy Durante, isn't that one of his last?
Yeah.
He's in there, right?
I'm pretty sure. It's just everybody in there is somebody with a cool, memorable voice. Mickey Rooney's in there. Buddy Hackett. Speaking of voices. Buddy Hackett, of course, would make his way into the Disney animated canon in The Little Mermaid. He's the seagull. Can't remember his name, but
yes.
I always wanted this when I was a kid too. I wanted to have big coins that I could put in stacks. Much more fun than. Oh, come on, focus, camera. Stupid camera.
Buddy wasn't the original bird in the first Rescuers, was he? Who was that?
Oh, could have been.
Or was he?
He's in the Rescuers Down Under for sure, right?
No, that was John Candy took over. For
John
some
Candy
reason,
was the albatross.
Wasn't he the bird in the second one? Down Under.
Oh,
okay,
so long.
Maybe I'm screwing this all up.
Stupid camera. Focus. There you go.
Bringing it
in. Vaseline on my camera. Reluctant reptile. I'm sure Peter Ustinov really enjoyed these lines. It's like in the lesser known Disney movie, The Great Mouse Detective. That was I think that was the last role Vincent Price had. And he was the villain Radagast. And it was one of his favorite things ever. Apparently he just adored doing it. It's nice.
That's awesome.
There we go, Nutsy and Trigger. I like this scene a lot.
Nope, the first bird was Orville, played by Jim Jordan.
Is John Candy in any of the Rescuer movies?
I thought he was the cousin of Orville in the sequel.
That's very possible. It's been so long since I've seen it. That might be like the first Disney movie I saw on VHS was The Rescuers Down Under. I'm not sure. Because I remember even in the like 80s, like you said, I don't remember what year it was when they released this, but still really what really got things going was the big hit that was The Little Mermaid. And that was 89. Yeah. So then it was just like everything gets released. So the next movie chronologically was Rescuers Down Under. And I can remember, I think I rented it. And that might be the first. Yeah. And I might have seen that on VHS before I saw, because I saw the year before I did see Little Mermaid in the theater, but maybe it wasn't out on video yet by the time I saw Rescuers Down Under on video.
And it was John Candy as Wilbur, Orville's brother.
There you go.
Because the Wright brothers.
John Candy died so long ago, and yet I still really miss him, even though I think he's been dead for more of my life than he's been alive. And yet I still really miss John Candy.
We'll be coming up on, we're at 28 years maybe he's been gone.
Yeah.
I remember it pretty well. Me too. I get sad watching his films, going back to him.
His films. I used to watch the Camp Candy cartoon.
Yes, I did too, Saturday morning.
And he did all sorts of appearances and stuff on various Canadian TV and events and things
coming out of SCTV Canada.
Yeah, but he basically saved the Toronto Argonauts. They would have probably gone under if he didn't buy them. That's the CFL team.
Nice.
But he bought them, and he was a really hands-on owner. Of course, I wasn't watching back then, but stuff you find out about later. He was, I guess, a very involved owner. All right, time for a nice breakout, sneaky breakout. Stealth. So we're about an hour and 6 in, if anybody is interested or needs a timestamp. Just past hour and 6 minutes.
Yep.
Good old nutsy. This is a comedic version, but I just remember it really appealed to me, this setting of animals in a medieval world. Did you ever watch Redwall?
No.
Okay, there was this really cool series, and there's a bunch of them, of fantasy novels called Redwall, which was a medieval fantasy, but with small animals, mostly mice, but small animals. But they were people. They wore clothes and built houses and things like that. And in the late 80s, early 90s, they did a cartoon adaptation of it that I really liked. It was serious though. It wasn't even though it was cute animals and stuff, it wasn't a comedy. It was a serious show. But yeah, it was a cool show. I have a couple of the novels. There's a bunch. There's 25 of them or something. Made many. Yeah, Redwall was the name of this, I think, monastery or something.
Oh, monastery. Well, I think this, like many of Disney's animated features, might have been the first time I was introduced to the story of Robin Hood.
Yeah, pretty early for me too. Like I said, it's hard to remember. I probably saw this before Prince of Thieves. Prince of Thieves was 91. So probably I saw this a year or maybe 2 years beforehand.
Oh, I know. I saw it well before that.
Yeah.
It was also one of the earlier of the Disney animated films that they showed on the Disney Channel.
Yeah,
exactly. I had that.
One of the reasons 80s. Why. That's one of the reasons why I watched it multiple times, well before it was. I guess it was on video, but before I owned it or anything like that.
Yeah.
That trigger, he's getting everybody edgy. Yeah, I love this is the bit. Yeah, it's not just the voice. He just like impersonates Nazi. Yeah, Robin really puts his acting skills to use in this movie. It's like what? It's like fourth character.
Yeah.
He's got the blind beggar. He's got the gypsy woman. He had the stork archer, and now he's impersonating a real person. I think he's impersonating Nazi. He has a sock on his nose. Because that's basically what their beak looks like.
Yeah, I think that was what it was partially what was appealing in this movie and that character, the different disguises and
yeah, like I said, it's sort of a different I mean, everybody knows in the main story they usually Robin if they have the archery contest, Robin does it in disguise. But I like that in this movie they really run with it, that he's like doing disguises all the time,
all over the place. Yeah,
and always fooling the stupid sheriff.
And as a kid, that was great to watch.
I mean, it's a riff on sort of a popular thing in cartoons too, right?
Yeah,
like you said, like when Bugs Bunny dresses up and fools Elmer Fudd or Yosemite Sam or whoever. Death for treason. Oh, he's got his own special cell. Of course, he did physically attack the sheriff, so I get it. He says, thank God, which makes sense, but it seems like they would shy away from that kind of language in later things, like, better not mention God. I mean, of course a friar would say thank God. Jailbreak. I like how they locked that kid up, but they let him keep his bow and arrow. Even the voice of that kid, that's somebody too that did other stuff. But holy shit, Andy Devine is in like 10,000 movies.
Yeah.
Especially in the early days. Like he's in like a million movies in the 30s and 40s that no one's ever heard of. Because they just used to crank out these really cheap westerns like in the 30s and 40s, and he's in like every one of them. It's pretty funny. Like, I haven't heard of any of these. I mean, he's in a couple ones that you might have heard of, like with. Because I'm pretty sure he's in Stagecoach, which of course is a very famous movie, one of the best westerns, and sort of really what, even though the westerns genre was Stagecoach in 1939. So I mean, there are all sorts of westerns before Stagecoach, but Stagecoach is really what popularized the genre. I mean, they were making westerns even in the silent era, but it was really Stagecoach in 39. And of course, the heyday of the western was really the 50s. Oh, this bit, yeah. They really go for it. It's like, well, we're freeing everybody. We might as well rob them blind too, which makes sense. I mean, they're taking back what's theirs. But he gets a little, because I mean, there's piles of these, and he gets them all out. But then he can leave, but he just can't stand at letting John keep any. Is the problem, because John's got a couple that he's holding on to. I like the nightcap.
Oh, and I was wrong on the Blazing Saddles thing. Another one to confuse with Slim Pickens.
Oh,
has that
Slim
same
Pickens.
twangy voice.
Yeah. There were probably plenty of times where I probably thought Slim Pickens was Andy Devine or vice versa.
Yeah.
They're very easy to confuse. Or even Pat Buttram.
Yeah.
Pat Buttram died in 94. He's not in Blazing Saddles, but he's in a movie called The Blazing Sun. But he was also in the Aristocats, so he was another one that carried over. Like quite a few people were in the Aristocats, and again, that wasn't even really because like they wanted them. It was because they didn't have time. They were on a schedule and they needed to get the movie out, and they were like, we don't have time for like casting and auditions and stuff. So just take a bunch of people from the last movie and put them in this. So as we said, well, there's some, I don't want to say half-ass, but like the approach to this movie, like with its reusing things like animation and actors, it's still a very good quality movie.
Oh yes,
it just has such a great personality to it. It's funny. So yeah, I mean, there's all the money, but he can't stand that John still has one under his pillow. That's gotta go too. I love how Hiss is so annoyed by that. Oh, that it's not even the pillow one. It's the one under his arm he has to go back for. I mean, come on, Robin. One more is not going to make a difference. I'm not calling you greedy because. Yeah, very good physical hijinks in this movie. Oh yeah, isn't there a bit here where everybody thinks Robin's dead? He's gonna like fall into the water and they're gonna shoot a bunch of arrows at him. I mean, it's pretty quick. They don't let you think long, but I think there's a bit here where everybody thinks they killed Robin. Oh. Oh, his loot took some arrows there. It reminds me. I'm the only. I don't know if I ever told you my favorite James Bond movie. I'm the only person in the world whose favorite James Bond movie is The Living Daylights. But there's a great scene in The Living Daylights where he has to escape and cross the border, being chased by these guys, and he's with the love interest, and she's a cellist. And I remember her. They wind up riding her cello down like this snowy mountain, and the cello takes a few bullets.
Is that one with Timothy Dalton?
Yes, that's the first Timothy Dalton movie. There's two. The second one is License to Kill, and they're both solid. But for whatever reason, that's my favorite Bond movie is The Living Daylights, 1987. Timothy Dalton, he was supposed to do a third one in 1991, and the whole thing fell through, which is too bad. Would have been nice if he could have done it.
He had a longer run than George Lazenby.
Yeah, Lazenby was one and done. And it was his own idea, too. He left because he was intimidated by the contract. He thought the contract was, like, confining or something. So then we got the brilliance of the shitty movie, Diamonds Are Forever, bringing back a really reluctant Sean Connery that didn't want to come back. You can totally tell. That movie's terrible. I remember reading something linked to that the other day. It was something like one of the two. There's these two assassins. It's like a bit in that movie. It's been a long time seen, but there's these two assassins that are heavily implied to be gay that keep coming after him and failing in the movie. And somebody was watching the other day was the son of one of those actors, but I don't remember who or what it was. It was kind of funny. Oh, flames. Yeah, this is it. He jumps off the thing, and yeah, here come the arrows. At least you could say kill back in the 70s. For the 80s, you couldn't say that, which we've talked about before. You know, they were talking about like just, you know, we grew up on cartoons where they're always like destroy him, but they couldn't say kill him.
That's right.
I mean, I love the '90s Spider-Man cartoon. It was as good as they could make it, given the limitations. Where like even the cops and stuff have stupid non-lethal laser guns, and Spider-Man's barely ever even gets to throw a punch. He mostly just spends his time flipping around while bad guys throw stuff at him. And they somehow put the Punisher on the show. It's like he has to be non-lethal, and black is awfully intimidating and aggressive. So can we get more of a blue? So you have Punisher in sort of like a navy blue costume, shooting neck guns at people. At least in that they make a point. Like they do point out that's not his usual MO, because the whole thing is okay. We want you to try to. He's after Morbius. He's all over the news lately, I guess. I did not see the Morbius movie, but that's been the biggest joke on the internet for the last few weeks. I think we're all a little tired of it, but yeah. But anyway, in that they at least point out that like that's not Punisher's usual MO, but still. But yeah, they just had all these rules that didn't make sense about. I mean, Jesus, they just censored the hell out of anything.
Yeah.
Mommy. Yes, it's time to finally kill that snake. I've had it with your passive-aggressive bullshit. Really, you couldn't think of a better P word for Python? You called him procrastinating? It's not really much of an insult.
Yeah.
Burn a nation. Ah, these are perked up nicely. King Richard is back, yo. Well, Nutsy and Trigger get to keep their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You were just following orders.
Yeah.
That defense worked back then. Actually, it didn't really. When you think of like coups and stuff, and like when various kings took power and stuff like that, we were just following orders defense pretty much never worked. Like if you were one of those people, you got killed along with them, no matter what. The best joke ever. Now, speaking of Cinderella, we'll get into the Cinderella carriage.
Mm-hmm.
Solid logic. The royal rock pile. Get you a new job, Trigger. Short and sweet. I don't know, that movie's just a lot of fun, and
it is.
It remains my favorite version of Robin Hood. I like Robin Hood. I like a lot of versions, although I guess there's been some not so good ones. But yeah, you're definitely not missing anything with the Russell Crowe one. It sucks. It's weird too because they make it almost like it's a prequel because it actually ends with him being declared an outlaw. And it's just like everyone in the movie's already like in their 50s. Like he's old as hell. Maid Marian's old as hell. It's not good.
Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense for the story.
No, they really
as a
don't.
prequel.
I saw that in theaters because I was excited to have another Robin Hood movie at the time. It was so disappointing. But
this
I
is
did like another Robin Hood just a couple years ago, and nobody saw it. I don't even know who was in it.
I don't even remember it. Yeah,
it looked really weird though. Like really different looking. Just remember like the way the costumes and the locations. It looked really odd. Anyway, that's Robin Hood, 73. So our first one with a Disney film. And there's probably at least a couple other Disney ones we can do in the future. Some of them are from the more overlooked era. And of course, as we said, Don Bluth was involved in this movie. So it keeps the Don Bluth theme alive. I won't give away yet something I have in the works, so I've talked to Jess about it. There's a movie I find very interesting that we might be able to give a shot to. I will just say it's kind of some of my favorite movies to talk about are like movies that were like failures, and this movie kind of was again too. And it has a pretty interesting story and like a super long development. Like basically the entire decade of the '80s was people were trying to get this movie to happen. And when I say people, some really big names in the film industry, not just in the world of animation either. Like some people that I won't give any of that away, but it's a interesting movie. That's I don't know how hard it is to get on Blu-ray, but like the DVD is long out of print and costs a goddamn fortune. I happen to own like a burned copy of the DVD, which is how I have it. But the Blu-ray has, well, I'll give something away because the movie has also a Japanese version with a Japanese voice track, which I've never heard, which would be interesting. So it has an English voice cast and a Japanese voice cast. But anyway, I won't say what that is just yet, but we're working that out. But that's one we might even do that next, maybe. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But
sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting movie that a lot of people either don't think about or don't remember. But there's some interesting stuff to it. Plus, I even the source material is pretty interesting too. I'll just say, I can't.
I'm not saying much because I'm afraid to let the title slip.
Yeah, exactly. It's over 100 years old. The source material, just crazy to think.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, the original thing it was based on started, here's a hint, people, in 1905. It had two runs, from 1905 to about, I think, 1914, and then it got revived briefly in the 20s. But a very important thing for its medium. We'll just say that. But yeah, we're dancing all around it. But
I know. I'm just.
I won't say it. But anyway, yeah. So maybe we can work that out. And trying to hype it up though, because it's one that I want people to watch because I think it'd be interesting. But anyway, so that's for the future. So thanks very much, Jess, for joining me on this one.
Thanks for having me as always.
Good stuff. Final thoughts on Robin Hood, 1973.
Like you said, it's great fun. It's an overlooked Disney classic and possibly my favorite version of Robin Hood as well.
Yeah. And such an interesting take, like this idea of taking the Robin Hood story and infusing some of that like American Southern country stuff into it. Like it sounds ridiculous, but they actually pull it off quite nicely. And when you think about things like recycling like some of the cast from previous movies, it's like, well, that doesn't seem, but I mean, they more or less fit the characters. I mean, these aren't super deep, complicated characters, and at least they did get a really good Robin Hood. I love that voice; it's a great voice.
And the
really
fact that they're animals,
yeah. And it's a bit of, the compromise was because originally they were going to do something based on like a fox character, and they're like, why don't we take Robin Hood and make him the fox? And it works really well. You can totally see Robin Hood as a
yes. It's me. Not sure if it's me.
That was me.
Okay.
That was me, I think. So that's okay. We're going to get off here before it gets any worse. But anyway, thanks a lot to anybody that tuned in. And of course, anyone who's watching this in the future. Thanks to you too. So thanks so much, guys. That'll do it. And we will see you next time with another cool animation live commentary. And I'm sure the future will bring maybe some different things too. And, and also other stuff on Jess's channel and respective related channels. You can see us, I'm sure. And we'll see you one way or another. So thanks a lot, guys. Peace out. See you next time. Bye-bye.